Hi, this is Angela, and today I'm sharing on a topic called peace. What is it? And why do we want it? Why do we need it? Our world right now is going through things that are not peaceful. So what's the role of peace? How does it connect to our soul? And of course, for me, dance is the way to cultivate peace. And it has been for thousands of years. So I'm sharing in October, November on workshops in Sydney where we cultivate peace. And I wanted to talk about how the peace in the dance is an expression of the soul. I was really honoured this weekend to go to the Belly Dance Expo in Sydney, very close to my house, so I could walk there, which sometimes these things that are right around us, we don't recognise, we don't acknowledge them, we don't see them. We don't do them because they're right here and we take them for granted. For me, peace and the feeling of peace in our lives in the dance is something that people take for granted. Because I've done dance, meditation, healing, a lot of things where we connect to the inner peace, the sense of that feeling inside where you feel a deeper sense of the wholeness of the self. What is that? It's the intangible. It's something I can only express through dance. It's something I can only feel when I'm allowing my hands to reach from my heart. There's no real word for it. We call it peace because it's something that makes us feel that we're in a place of calm. So I want to explore what's underneath that calm and share a few things from the dance. Hopefully you can join me in Sydney. I'll be doing online classes as well. And eventually I'll be building online downloads so people can have these beautiful ways of cultivating peace throughout our whole body. And the body is not just physical. The body has a non-physical part as well. It's the stuff that we can't really measure. But when you feel good, it has many variations, what feels good for us. In the book, The Body of Love, I teach about the system in our body where we feel good. It's our nervous system that gives us a lot of senses. Our nervous system, it runs through our body like a tree, and it also extends out into the peripheries around us. It's a peripheral nervous system. So often when you're walking in nature, how come you feel good? Because your peripheral nervous system is feeling all those trees around you, and your peripheral nervous system is being fed by that natural harmony and flow in the nature. So peace is like this. Peace is knowing that just one individual human, you're actually fine just the way you are. You don't have to be anything else but what you are. Peace is knowing that just being who you are has a meaning and a relationship to everybody else around you, the world, and the universe. Peace is knowing that you're in harmony with all of these parts of your life, of the world, of your environment. Peace is something that we really do think is not achievable right now on earth. So I wanted to put to you how the Sufis, a lot of different traditions, the Bhakti movement, the devotional movements throughout time, the cultural dance movements throughout all time use movement together as a community to bring this state of oneness, of togetherness. Why? Because we know that together we have great states to experience. We have a collective consciousness that's much more important than just thinking about one individual person. And perhaps we haven't had enough of that collective consciousness for a while. If you're old enough to remember the 80s, we had a lot of concerts where people were gathered together to solve world hunger and for world peace. and very famous people came to sing together and create songs. And there was a collective feeling in those concerts at Wembley Stadium or in other stadiums where people were together for a great cause. We have other stadiums now that collect people together for soccer or for other big celebrations. But peace is something that we don't see those festivals now that are gathering, but all over the world there are festivals for peace. They just don't make it to the media. If you're looking at how peace can be something that you can magnify into the world, one of the consciousness or stories I hear is that if I just focus on peace, what difference does that make? And I used to think this myself. How can me just sort of cultivating a sense of being at peace with myself, who cares? What difference can that make? However, we have people throughout history who have shared messages of peace that have lasted beyond time, much longer than anybody else I know. We have the masters of all the religions and their messages of peace, and those messages resonate throughout time. We have other people before the modern day masters who have taught about peace, and that message was handed down to the modern day masters. So even though the human consciousness might think one individual doesn't have an impact, we give a lot of attention to these masters, and they have had an enormous impact. So one of the things that we can change is looking at how you look at yourself and your impact, your ability to connect to peace, and your judgments you might have if you start to allow yourself to feel peace when other people are suffering. So our nervous system is often reactive. When we see war, when we see people suffering, we might think we have to also panic. That's a natural response. But if you're not in the war zone, what's your role? What can you do? You can do a lot. And we have to start thinking how much you can do, not just by donating money or other things, but by cultivating peace. What you can do is you start to impact the collective consciousness of everybody around you, everybody you talk to. And this is one of the things that people in ancient times would use Sufi work or devotional work or dancing together to actually collect a collective consciousness, to cultivate that sense of being one in a whole, in a group. So I'd like to then just share one more piece about finding peace in ourselves and realizing the impact that you can have. When I was writing the book about the body of love and I looked at our nervous system, we have that reactive nervous system, fight or flight nervous system, and we have the autonomous nervous system as well. And we have that autonomous nervous system is operating all the time without you even doing anything. And it's that nervous system that I feel helps us connect to what are the ways that we can feel into the body that has this incredible love for us. It's making sure we're breathing, making sure our heart beats, make sure our digestion is trying to process everything that we're taking in and eliminate everything that we don't need. That autonomous nervous system is what I've found one of the most strangest things to observe in the body. And also one of the things in the dance is that the autonomous nervous system has its own rhythm, its own feeling, its own desire to be supporting life, to be a bridge for life from this moment to the next moment, from this body to the next generation's bodies. The autonomous nervous system supports our life constantly. And when I feel that system supporting me, it's almost like the lungs and the circulatory system of the heart, where the blood flow goes through the lungs and back to that heart. And I used to call it the fountain, but the fountain operates on many layers, not just our autonomous nervous system. It also operates through that central channel of the body and all the way to the crown. And that feeling of those rhythms in the body are something we connect to when we do movement and dance, when we breathe, when we feel that sense of our body being there for that part of us that's experiencing whatever we're experiencing in the moment. And when we're feeling that flow of the autonomous nervous system, for me in the dance, it has a lightness to it, and it has that sense of wanting to lift and elevate myself just for the sake of being alive. There's no reason for it. So when I felt in the dance how this flow, the fountain, would be moving through a lot of my body without me doing too much movement, sometimes I can be still and I can feel that fountain moving through my energy system, very much like a tree. Tree has that feeling of reaching up to the sky and reaching out through its branches. But for me, the fountain is a feeling of life that's always waiting to be experienced, but we're too busy usually getting involved in some drama or some story or some thought or some feeling to actually feel what's already been experienced in the body without us even doing anything. Even if you're lying down, your autonomous nervous system and all the organs are functioning, and this flow is happening within the body without you doing anything. It's so mysterious. So in the dance, when I started to explore that fountain feeling, what happened was also a connection to what I call the spiritual energy of the body, and an aspect of that is the soul. So our energy body and our physical body are always operating, and there's a constant flow to that energy, and the fountain of energy that's moving through us all the time and out and around us to support the flow of the fluids through our vascular and our respiratory systems, through all of the nervous system and hormonal systems, all of those systems that are flowing for us without us doing anything. Underneath or behind all of that, for me, there was a connection to that permanent self that's not necessarily in my conscious awareness. And I've shared in some of the other videos that I had a heart awakening in one of the Sufi workshops, where I connected to this divine aspect that loved me and didn't know what it was. Well, a few years later, I worked out that it was a part of myself that was embracing me, that wasn't physical. And we may not quite know what that part is, because we don't need to know it. We need to feel it. We need to cultivate that feeling of the soul so that we feel ourselves more fully. And this is what the dance for me has been an enormous joy, because my connection to the soul has just grown. Over the years, my personality has changed enormously, and my experience of the soul has simply just expanded. And my perception of the soul has grown as my personality grew. But the soul really, I guess it did evolve, but it's not a process that I could actually say, yes, it's grown. It's just a feeling of the connection to that part of myself that has become stronger. And this is what I would like to finish with, how the dance can help you feel more strongly your own spiritual self. It's not about a knowing, it's a feeling. And it's the reason why I use dance to help us expand our sense of ourself, our spiritual self, our physical self and its relationship to the spiritual self, our acceptance of the personality and the physical self, because most of our lives we tend to be very critical. And the expansion of that sense of the connection, the feeling of the spiritual self, is where I've been able to embrace moving in a different way, moving physically in a different way, capitalizing on my energy in a different way, recovering from major diseases in a different way, experiencing my energy in unlimited ways, which I didn't think would happen when I was ill. So if any of that resonates with you, you could try some of these simple things now to cultivate that sense of your soul, whatever that is for you. I use dance. What do you use to feel that connection, the feeling of your soul? I feel it right here in my hands. I feel it when I hear the music that's playing softly in the background, or the trees brushing in the distance outside where I live, or the wind rustling through the Venetian blind. Where do you feel that connection to your soul? And secondly, how do you honor that in these times when people may be more dispirited about peace? How do you expand it? You don't need to do anything to expand it. I'm just inviting you to look at that feeling. How can you let your heart or your soul connection feel more connected to you as a way to bring peace for you and for anyone that you come into contact with? It's something I do with Dance for Joy, and we're doing those workshops in Sydney, October 26, November 9 and November 2nd. And I invite you to, in these times, really experience for you what value you give to peace. Your peace brings peace to everyone that you come into contact with, even if others may be cynical or not optimistic about our world. So that's what I've got to share today, and I look forward to hearing your comments. And please come join us in Sydney if you're in Sydney for Dance for Joy, and I look forward to cultivating peace with you there and experiencing the beauty of our souls coming together as one. Thank you.